So I've been wanting to do more system reviews as well as like modules and just games and stuff like that in general. And I want to start this off with something that's kind of near and dear to my heart for a couple reasons, which we'll get into. But let's talk about Disaster Tourism's Guild. So Guild is built off of the Wyrd framework, which some of you may have heard me talk quite a bit about when leading up to Wyrd Dungeon. We'll get into that a little bit later. But for Guild, it's a very simple system, just like the Wyrd framework is. It does change things a bit from that framework, but in really cool and fun ways. What I love about Guild is just how simple it is with story-wise, but leaves a lot of room for the group to really build out what it is. So essentially, Guild is you are a part of a guild of adventurers going dungeon delving, and you rank up through the guild. That's the leveling system. So as you get gold, extract gold from the dungeon, you use that gold to buy ranks to get better so you can get into bigger and more dangerous dungeons and so on and so forth. So very old school styling, but very cool place to just make adventures. And if that's all you really want into is get into a dungeon, explore, and extract gold, this is going to be the game for you. So the resolution mechanic for this is a D20 roll under system, but how that's calculated is by the character's aptitude. Everything's really kind of based on this aptitude, which is their might minus their loadout. And basically the more loadout you have, the more gear you have on you, and the more stuff you extracted from the dungeon, that loadout is going to change and make things more difficult the more you have on you. So you think about it, a person in full plate with a big heavy sword, they may deal a lot of damage and they may have some good protection, but their aptitude is going to make it to where it's going to be harder to roll under whatever the task is they need to roll under. So it's a good balancing mechanic that I really like. When it comes to combat, there's actually a roll off. Instead of you just trying to roll to hit a target number of some kind, you're rolling your 1d20 plus whatever the relevant aptitude against the enemy, and whoever rolls lower wins. Now, a natural 20 does come into play for critical failures, and there's a whole table that's really cool to jump into, and let's read some of those. So one of those things is the armorless critical table. If at any point your armor gets reduced to 0, you have to consult this table. It's on a 1d12, and on a 1, you die gruesomely. Sorry, you just get, your head lopped off. But there's other really cool stuff. See, on a 10, the attack tears a swath of flesh from your belly, exposing your innards to the elements. Your organs spill out in 1d10 seconds if the wound is not dealt with. So it's really cool. Not only does something dramatic happen, but it adds a bit to the narrative of what you're doing in that moment. And then the other characters have to get in, hopefully, and maybe cast a heal spell or something to help you out, or you're going to meet your demise. So if I had to have a criticism just about the main book is I want an index. I was reading through it, and granted, this was my fault. I don't know why I missed this. I was having a hard time. It talked about potency and essence on trinkets, and I was like, where is this information? And I was looking for it, and I couldn't find out what those two things did. And if I had an index, that would be great. Just something that I could go into the back of the book. Hey, where do these words show up in the book? So I could jump to it. Because to me, they were a little hidden within the magic section instead of kind of being their own entries. To me, they're important elements that kind of needed their own section. There's potency and essence, a little headline, or header rather, and then you could talk a little bit about that. And then in the magic section, kind of reiterate what they do. So that'd be my really only criticism. Otherwise, it's really well laid out. The information's presented really clearly, and we could jump in and start playing this game right away. And it's this, it's this little compact book, so that's fantastic. Now, they also have this book of adventures, which is the same size as the main book, and has these really cool, this is issue 0, so We know there's more dungeons going to be coming out, so you can have your fill. There are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 adventures in this book. I kickstarted it, so I got this and the main book, which was really cool. And I'm really glad that I have both, so I can just use them and get started and get a feel for the game before I start making my own stuff. And one thing I really love about Disaster Tourism, they always have really cool add-ons and little stuff like that to make your game really a lot of fun and expand it a little bit. And this, the character sheet, really cool that it is just, you know, on this little sheet here. It has a front and a back, but the thing is, this is a tear-off booklet. So it's really cool just to have all these character sheets ready to go. You don't have to print them off or, you know, draw your own. We have plenty to use here, assuming your characters don't die violently a lot, which this is a pretty brutal system, so you might go through this fairly quickly. I don't know. And I have to say, I am a bit biased because I designed this character sheet, but it was great to see it in this booklet form. But it's such a fun thing to see it here in this this layout and see it in person and to mess around with it. It's really cool. But it has all the information you're going to need about your hirelings, what loot you have, and all your armor and trinkets and all that kind of fun, really cool stuff. And of course, over here, all your aptitudes, that's all the information really that you're going to need to do all your combat. So that's really cool. And then a full sheet on the back that is just all your different spells. Now, how does this tie into Weird Dungeon? Well, Weird Dungeon also uses the Weird framework. So while mechanically they are very different from one another. This uses a D20, whereas Weird Dungeon uses only a D6. But that doesn't really matter all that much. You could interchange the two however you see fit. They are sister products. They use the same sort of elements and ideas. So you could really grab Weird Dungeon and use just all the random tables that we have in here to generate dungeons for Guild. That's really kind of the way I have always envisioned Weird Dungeon is, while yes, we do have mechanics in here if you just want to make it and play it as your own game, you really don't have to. You can disregard all that, use whatever system you want, and then just use the random tables to build dungeons for yourself. And I think that's a great way to pair these two games together, is you can get both of these and 1, build your dungeons, 2, go delving. So that's my review of Guild. If you like those kind of really OSR, brutal, simple, mechanics are lean but effective, I think that's going to be the game for you. So give Guild, check it out. It's disastertourism.games, and you can buy Guild there. I believe it's ready to go. So thank you for checking out this review, and we'll talk about the next one later.